interest rates are going up. Trying to get ahead is mighty, mighty tough. Bill collectors at my door. I need someone to help me raise my credit score.
Welcome back to the Pearl Polto Show. I am Pearl Polto. We have some great shows coming up. Next week is Carol Romano. Everybody heard of Anthony Robbins? Well, you don't want to miss next week's show. But tonight's show, we're going back to the nitty-gritty of what my expertise is and a little bit about what you want to know. Credit and real estate go hand in hand, or they're supposed to go hand in hand. And why I'm against some real estate agents, and I will tell you why. I'm not against my guest, and I will tell you why as well. She's an exception to the rule. Many people in the real estate business tried to sell homes to people that they could not afford. And then they went into debt and they lost their homes while they trusted the real estate agent and wanted these luxury homes, $1 million homes. And then now we have reverse mortgages that many of you heard about, don't understand it. We see it on our televisions. We're going to find out tonight when's the best time to buy, to sell, and why, if a person really cares. The person that I have on tonight, her name is Carol Kramer, and she's going to give you as many answers as possible to all your questions that you think. And I've gotten some emails on this about the market. But first, I want to welcome Carol. Welcome to the Pro Polto Show.
Thanks for having me. I'm very happy to be here.
Are you really?
Yeah, I am. I am very happy to be here because I think people need to hear more about what's really going on with real estate and hear about what's going on locally, not for the whole country.
All right, let's start with that. But tell us about yourself first.
Well, I am a local entrepreneur. I own an auto repair in the area. And I started in real estate a little over 3 years ago after a career at Prudential Financial in accounting. And I really like the business, and I am very interested in helping people do things the right way and helping to share information.
Isn't the real estate business today downhill? For people that want to get into the business, isn't it a bad time to get into real estate because of the downhill of the economy?
Well, that's not what I was told. I was told you're getting in at the right time because you're getting the real training that there used to be. During the bubble, if you came in during that time, you just hit the ground running because you didn't need to put any effort into getting your listings or making your sales. It just happened. The phone just rang. The clients were there. And now you do need to earn people's business.
When you say you have to earn people's business, they have to trust you.
Absolutely. And you have to show them you have a proven marketing plan and that you're sincere.
Now, how does that work? I own a home. I want to sell it. What do I do? Do I call you, and what's the next step? I mean, how do I know I'm not going to get taken over? How do I know you're the right person? How does a person know this?
Well, you really do have to use some common sense and kind of do your own homework and maybe call more than one person.
Okay. A second opinion, you mean?
Right.
Okay.
They should come prepared with the marketing plan for you and a market analysis and be able to explain everything to you that's going to happen and give you some approximate numbers and some scenarios and be able to leave you with your own decision.
Is the marketing, one question that was asked of me, is the marketing improving today?
In our area, it seems to be slightly improving.
No,
and that's
when
all
you say
the
in our
reports.
area.
Right.
What
in
do you
the
mean?
Philadelphia
Okay,
area.
in the Philadelphia.
Philadelphia, Bucks
California's
County.
watching.
Right.
So.
It's a whole different thing. If I don't know California's market, I don't know New York's market. In the Philadelphia area, Bucks, Montgomery County, things are slightly improving.
They're improving to the point, should a person sell their home today if they wanted to, or should they hold back for a few more years?
Well, I don't know what would happen in a few more years. Right now, what the reports are saying is that it could be a favorable spring market. a little favor towards the listing side because they there will be more buyers because the interest rate's lower and values have gone up a very small amount and there's not as much inventory.
Okay. Now, if somebody is buying a home, naturally they go by an appraisal. They go by the appraisal. When somebody, do you send out an appraisal on somebody's home?
I don't. That's up to the bank. If
Well,
there's
that's up to the
a
bank with the
mortgage,
mortgage.
the bank gets someone to come out. And of course, if I have the listing, I would be out there to meet them with my own comps.
No, no, okay. I have a home. Let's say it's valued at $200,000, and you look at it, and you would say to me, would you say to me, Pearl, you're overdoing it. This house is not going to sell. Let's lower it. Would you do that? Would you say that to a person?
Yes, I would have to be very, very honest. If you had something about your home, for instance, if it had very outdated carpeting and was full of shag carpeting and very outdated wallpaper, but the houses that go for 200,000 have been updated in, just even in that way. I mean, those things are expensive. Same thing, bathrooms and kitchens not updated. We
You
know the
tell them. You
taste of the
tell them to
buyers. Yeah,
update.
absolutely. Well, no, I really do not ask people to update
Mm-hmm.
because if you ask people to put money into a property, they may not get it back out. The economy is low now for almost 5 years or so. So it's a risk. If the person's willing to put, suppose they say, I have $2,000, what would you recommend? I'd walk around and tell them what I would recommend using the 2,000 to update as best as possible. But to put a lot of money, you may not see that back. If you put a $30,000 kitchen, chances are it's not going to make your house worth 30,000 more. If
Okay.
if the homes like yours go for 2, if it's a little better, it might go for a little more. If it's a little worse, it might go for a little less, but it's not going to jump up like during the bubble time when people did kitchens and bathrooms. It really gave them a great improvement, and people saw television shows that said, if you do this, you're going to get your money back, or 95%, or certain percentages of your
So
money
the
back.
average person would put the new kitchen in, the bathroom in, just to raise the price of their home, and they probably would not even be getting it back, is what you're saying.
During the bubble, you could, because values were rising so quickly.
Mm-hmm.
You could, but now it's just not um, something that anyone's even thinking about doing. Maybe some low cost things that help with the appeal to the buyer, like fresh paint or flooring, but or things you could do yourself. If you have a skill where you could do something yourself, that would be great.
Is that important today, or can a person just say, as is, buy as is? You see that a lot. Buy, what is buy as is? Like they don't want to put the
Yeah, yeah.
work in the house?
Right, exactly. Many, many homes are as is. Of course, if it's a short sale, those all say as is
What is a
because
short sale?
that's when the person owes more than what they can sell the house for. So they're asking the bank, will you take less than what we owe you? So they're not going to put money out of their pocket. They're already in an upside down situation on the values. So almost every single one that I've seen says as is.
So the as is, if I owed 150,000 and they only want to offer me 100,000, then I would say to the bank, would you accept 100,000 just to sell this house? Is that what you're saying?
Yes,
And that's what
and
happens as is.
well, they don't have the money to fix it. They don't have the money to continue in the home.
They just want to get
So
rid of
how
it.
could they? Right? They
Is that the
just
purpose? Just what? Why don't they just have it go into foreclosure then?
well, there are programs,
Mm-hmm.
and one of the programs, if you're doing a short sale, provided you have a hardship, there are details about the government programs. If it's owned by Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac, you could ask for relief for that difference so they don't come after you for the difference.
And they can come after. When we come back, we're going to take a little break. When we come back, we're going to talk about a subject that I have an expertise in, real estate and credit, when we come back.
There's nothing more disruptive and annoying than getting an automated call to your cell phone. There are laws against companies using computers or recorded messages to call you on your cell phone without your permission. This is consumer protection attorney Carrie Flitter. You've heard me as a guest on the Pearl Polto Show. There are consumer laws in place that prohibit many of the unwanted calls to your cell phone. If you're receiving unwanted or unauthorized calls, whether collection, selling products or services, or otherwise, you may be entitled to have these calls stopped and to collect money damages that the law provides. If you're getting unwanted or pre-recorded calls to your cell phone, contact us, the Consumer Protection Lawyers at Flitter Lorenz, at 888-668-1225. That's 888-668-1225, or online at consumerslaw.com. That's consumers with an S, consumerslaw.com. If we accept your case, the bad guys pay our bill.
Welcome back. Welcome back to the Pearl Polto Show. It's, anyway, my guest today is Carol Kramer, and we were talking about real estate and your home, when to buy, when to sell. The biggest thing, though, I'm a credit expert, and many people come to me and they say, Pearl, I want a mortgage, I want a new home, I want this. And the biggest problem that the majority of the people have is credit. So I help them with the credit, but now we got a real estate, because I'm going to ask her, when she gets a client that says, hey, I want to buy a home. Now, what do you do when you have a credit problem and you don't know about it? Is it wasting your time?
Yes, it does waste the real estate agent's time. It's one of the first things I bring up in the initial conversation is, are you pre-approved? And if they're not pre-approved, do they know how good their credit is? When was the last time they got their credit score? I do refer them to Pearl, of course, to try and get any problems resolved. Before you move ahead, you don't want to pick out a home, fall in love with it, and then find out you can't get a loan. And, the home's not going to wait for you, usually. Someone else will come along and put an offer. So you should have everything, your credit in good order, and have a pre-approval before looking. And if you just wanted to go out and see what's available out there, you might tell the agent that that's what you're doing. You're just going to see what's available and see if it's feasible for you to move. But you don't want to waste their time and yours by going out and falling in love with a place and then finding out after the fact that you couldn't possibly get a mortgage with your credit the way that it is. But there is hope. There are ways that your credit could be repaired. You do need to be careful. And I refer to Pearl, and I do, say, you should know what your score is. Find out what it is, and know where you need to be for the kind of loan you want.
You are after the people, and I know you're after the people. You care about the people, but there's many, as you heard me at the beginning of the show, about real estate agents. They were selling people $1 million homes, and they couldn't afford it, and their homes were going to foreclosure. I think that's just why I put a drop in this real estate, because it was the real estate agent that actually they were unjustified with educating the people. This is why I think we know. I only deal with you. And I deal with you because I never deal if somebody calls me and says I'm a real estate agent and I have a client. I say, no, I'm sorry, I can't talk to you. And I hang up. Because I know what their motive is, and they want to get their credit done so they can buy the house, and it's all for the wrong reasons. That's my feeling. How do you feel?
Well, I'm not so sure that it was all real estate agents, mortgage companies possibly, but the people wanted what they wanted. And
Look, come on, if I want $1 million home and I say I want that home
right.
and I love it, you're going to say, yeah, I love it too. But I can't afford it. I'm only making $2,000 a month. I can't afford it.
And that is what went wrong, is that people who could not possibly have afforded those homes were able to get loans. Mm-hmm. And It's sad that that happened. And really, we should all police ourselves in that respect. I mean, uh, we see how so many people did that, and then it's unfortunate that they were foreclosed upon and couldn't keep their home. But we know what we can afford, and before you go out looking for a house, you should figure out approximately how much a month could you spend with your other expenses. And if it exceeds that, it would be very difficult to keep up with the mortgage.
Something you said tonight, which was interesting. You said if a person, well, let's say, wanted a $60,000 mortgage, some mortgage companies will not accept it.
Some mortgage companies are only going to do as low as 100,000. There's
Why is
others who
that?
will
Why
do
is
it
that?
lower. I don't just their standards for their business. So you might have to shop around to find if you're buying a small condominium or something like that. You might have to shop
I was
around.
going to say, if you're buying a condo for 60,000 and the mortgage company wants the minimum of 100,000, what are you supposed to do? You have to,
Right.
and then they're pulling up your credit score. So every time they pull up your credit score, your score's dropping.
Right. So you do need to be careful and find out if you're looking under 100,000, you should find out from your real estate agent if they know what the limit is before you have your credit score pulled up. You should call and ask that
Before they pull.
so that they don't. You could go through 5 places and have your credit pulled up that many times before you find the one. So really, you should ask that question ahead of time, or if your real estate agent knows a company that does give loans below 100,000.
I've always said that so people doesn't get their credit score constantly pulled up with their credit report because that lowers the score each
Right,
time.
right. We need to protect ourselves and think ahead when it comes to the credit score, particularly if we're planning on buying a home.
Is there a problem when two people, husband and wife, and they're getting a divorce and they both want to sell the home? Do you have a problem with this where or do they work together? How does that work when
It could be a terrible problem, and we're not marriage counselors, we're not attorneys. It could be a terrible problem, and a lot of times the real estate agent's in the middle. Or if a buyer comes along, they could be in the middle as well. So, it is a situation, and hopefully you're able to have both clients cooperate, even if you have to travel to 2 different places every time you need a paper signed. It might be worth it.
it might be worth it?
Yeah.
How long does it take from beginning to end? That's another question that people ask is how long does it take from beginning to end once I sell the house, closing, everything? How long does it take? Now you get paid by commission, right?
Right.
So you're in the ball game too. They want to sell their home, they want to get their house sold, they want to go to the next home. You're in the thing too. You want to make your commission. How long does it take from beginning to end? So many people say to me, including mortgage companies, say to me, "Well, it could take this, it could take that." No one knows for sure.
Right. We don't know. We can't say exactly. Of course, it's always best to have the home priced appropriately. If the home is priced over what the market asks for, even if it's 10,000 over, you're not going to get as much interest or activity. And then the home is going to age on the market. It'll be around a longer time, and there'll be less and less interest in it. So, really, if you put your home on the market, you have to think about that price before you put it 25,000 over what's recommended. Think about the length of time you're interested in investing in it because it used to be about 3 months. Now it's more like 3 to 6 months, maybe even 6 to 9 months if the home is overpriced
Wow.
or if there's something unusual about the home. But, I mean, of course, that's just approximations. The first day someone could walk in and say, I love it and buy it.
Is this why houses are on this on the real estate signs are on for like a year? Is that the reasons that one is not selling or two it's overpriced? Why can't the real estate agent go up to them and say lower it to sell it? I mean, I'm a little bit confused here.
I've recommended it to all my listings. Most of them are wanting to go for a higher price because they're still thinking about the past and what the values were in the past. And the things that put value on a home to them are not necessarily what the buyer of today thinks is more valuable.
Well, the buyer of today wants a deal. Come on, and the
Absolutely.
buyer, the one that's selling it, is saying, "Well, my home is 400,000. I don't want to sell it for less." So, and I don't have to sell it for less, so they let it sit. Now, what is the purpose of letting it sit with that sale sign outside? And how many times can you change a real estate agent for that purpose?
There really isn't a benefit to doing that. None at all, except that maybe it makes them feel better, but it's a business transaction, even though it's a home and you're emotionally attached. It's still a business transaction, and sometimes you do have to step back and say, why are we doing this? But people are not making offers that are big differences from the asking price because they don't want to go back and forth. It seems like most of the homes that are moving on the market are priced appropriately, and the offers that are coming are fairly close to that asking price. And the buyers, of course, are getting a decent deal, but the sellers are as well because they're not investing six months or a year waiting. You're paying all those payments, you're paying all the utilities and taxes during that time, and that could be a big difference.
So you're wasting money as you're sitting there trying to sell the home to get your
When
price.
you do the math,
You're wasting money. And people don't realize this because they just want to get that, as you said, they think of their home as something else. I know
yeah,
my parents' home, when we sold it, they had the stucco thing on a bedroom. And the real estate agent was honest and said, remove it. Remove the stucco. Somebody is going to come in there. They're not going to buy it. And then we had to drop the price, and then it was sold.
right.
So, I mean, this is a high class area too, but this happens all the time. You see sale signs on it for a year, and you wonder.
If you have something unusual like stucco inside on
Mm-hmm.
a bedroom, that's
Yeah,
really
well, they thought it was the
unusual,
yeah, I
and
know.
it's really difficult to undo if you tried to do it yourself,
They had
and
to
probably
unscrape it. They had to.
expensive.
You're right. They had to
Right,
unscrape it and everything else before the next buyer would go in, and that was the suggestion of the real estate agent. So I guess that's what they do too.
right.
That's the only reason why it's sold with it. We're going to go into this is interesting because you said something on a lot of parents out there and a lot of kids think of their parents with the reverse mortgages. They're living in their home, but you said something at the age of what 62 they're allowed to get a reverse, not before, not after. I mean afterwards, I'm sure,
Right,
but not before.
not before. You must
So,
be
so
62.
you have to be 62. So the parents out there, if they're 62 and above, and now, what is the purpose of it? You see this on television all the time. I don't understand it myself, and yet a lot of people out there don't understand it. What is a reverse mortgage?
A reverse mortgage is when you take the equity in your home and borrow it out, but you don't have to pay it back. You do have to pay the taxes,
Mm-hmm.
insurance, and homeowners insurance and maintain the property. But even if you have a little loan on there, can be absorbed. It has to be the first lien. So even if you have a loan, you can possibly still do it. But the purpose of it is to help baby boomers age in place. That was the
No, but
purpose.
but if the house has to be paid in full, correct? Or
No, it
no, they
doesn't.
have to have
You
equity
have
in
to
the house.
have enough equity. Even if you have a loan, that loan would get paid off and get absorbed into it.
Okay,
You
so
know,
people that are 62 out there and they don't need to have their home paid off, but they need enough equity. Now, what's the
Right.
advantage that their bills, they can stay in there for a lifetime?
Yes, they can stay there um, as long as they maintain the property. Um,
Now, suppose it goes above the call of duty, they can still stay there, correct?
Even after it surpasses, if you're taking payments,
Mm-hmm.
you can take payments. There's all different setups. You can take payments for the rest of your life, payments for a period of time, lump sum,
I have a
have
client.
it like a line of credit.
I have a client that he
But
took a
I'm not
reverse
a mortgage
mortgage.
person.
He took a reverse mortgage, and she took out a lump sum to pay her bills, and she did, but there's not that much left in the lump sum, and she still has the reverse mortgage. And now, what happens there? Because they ate up all the funds. Is she allowed to get
That's
another reverse mortgage? Are you allowed two?
no. I don't know if you can refinance the reverse or not. That's where a very qualified mortgage person,
Mm-hmm.
uh, people with certain credentials are allowed to do those reverse mortgages. Not every
Mm-hmm.
mortgage person
Mm-hmm.
is qualified to do them. And I'm not a mortgage person. I'm just
Mm-hmm.
a real estate agent, but the reverse mortgages can be very, very helpful to people, or they could
But you can't take two.
easily not at the same time. No. If she has gained some equity, they may be able to redo it,
Well,
but I
how can
don't
you
think
gain
so.
equity? How can you gain equity just like that?
In this day and age,
Mm-hmm.
that's where the trouble comes. When the bubble was here and those first started, it wasn't so horrible because the equity was going up so quickly in homes. So it was
So they're going to have
sort
to
of
still pay their bills, have the
right,
reverse mortgage, so the mortgage will be paid, but they'll still have to pay the bills.
exactly. So if you use up your lump sum,
Mm-hmm.
you will have a place to live as long as you pay your taxes and maintain the property. But once you've spent the money, you're not going to get more until you possibly a different program comes along,
Mm-hmm.
or the possibility of remaking that if you got a tremendous amount more equity. It's I would imagine that it's wouldn't happen now.
What about a reverse mortgage with assistant living? Let's say a retired person, wanted to go into assistant living and they had a reverse mortgage. How does that work? Are they allowed to go into assistant living as they have the reverse mortgage? How does that work? Or is it possible?
Yes, they're not trapped there in the home just because they took a reverse mortgage. They can leave and go into assisted
They
living.
can.
Yes, they can. The home should be sold, and if they have equity, of course, it would go to them. If they don't have equity, or if it's a short sale, then they would accept what the market will bear, and the bank will be made whole by the government.
Okay, the bank will be whole. Now, if somebody's in a reverse mortgage, the biggest question that people have concerned of when they watch these commercials is what happens when I die?
If you have equity and the home is sold, your heirs would get the
So
equity.
the heirs would get the equity.
If there's not any equity left
Mm-hmm.
at the time, then they won't get it. And that's what the trouble has been, because we had the big bubble. A lot of reverse mortgages were taken during that time, and now those same properties aren't worth what the reverse mortgage was.
Wow.
So it's a difficult situation.
That could be
And
dangerous, though. Can it? Can't that be dangerous, though? I mean, if your heirs are waiting you're in a will, you know, and they know you have a reverse mortgage, so they say, I'm not getting anything anyway.
well, not necessarily dangerous in that way. It was meant to help people age in place. So it would give them a break. Uh, Anyone over 62. It wasn't really meant for let's get value for you to give to your heirs. And that's the trouble, is that it was meant for something different than the heirs to gain money. And if there is equity there, they do get it. If you need to leave and go to assisted living, you can, of course. The home can be sold. Um, if it's time for you to go to assisted living, it might be very difficult for you to get through that whole process. And there are people who can help clear out your home, sell valuables, and get some money for you. Or, I mean, after your family has come and taken the things that they want, and you have the things that you want to take with you.
Isn't this a scary time today in the real estate market, in the housing market? Isn't this a scary time in our life for people?
I think that it is. That's why before anyone gets a reverse mortgage, they should speak to an attorney or a financial advisor. Not real estate agents there to help you list and market your home, prepare it for sale, or help you find a home to buy. They're not there to advise you about mortgages or anything like that. You should really have a conversation with a trusted professional and consult your family too
Isn't
about
it
that.
best? Okay, the reverse mortgages. It's great. Your house is paid for. You have the equity in your home. But if you took out the equity out of your home and put it into another investment, right? You would still live there the rest of your life because you're still paying your mortgage, but you own your home. I mean, a lot of people are just putting the money into the CDs and they're taking the money out of their homes, and then they want it, they sell it. Or a lot of people don't care if their home's going in foreclosure. How come? Many homes are in foreclosure now.
I don't think it's that they don't care. I think it probably hurts a lot that their
Okay.
home's in foreclosure. Um, it is sad to see. I see a lot of it, and
Huntington
it's like,
Valley,
wow,
the high class areas of doctors and attorneys. These
yeah,
homes are in
everyone
foreclosure.
everyone has been affected, and I'm sure there's a lot of people who, they it does hurt them, and so they don't take action. Whatever you do, if you're having trouble paying your mortgage, don't do nothing. Do something. And the best thing you can do to help yourself is to get on the telephone and speak to the mortgage company. You might even call a real estate agent, speak with them. Find out what all your options are. Don't just wait until you're in such a hole and so far behind on the mortgage that you couldn't recover. Probably it's terrible. The feelings that these people must go through is just horrible, I'm sure. I just couldn't even imagine how bad.
I always say, you just said something and I'm against because you said call up the mortgage company. I have a consumer right now. She contacted the mortgage company and the home was in foreclosure. Well, they said it was in foreclosure and it really wasn't after we found out. She was back 4 months. The mortgage company said, you have to pay the whole thing off. Well, how could she pay the whole thing off? She can't even afford the 4 months. So I said she wasn't talking to the right person of that mortgage company. Don't pick up that phone. Put it in writing or mail them. See, as a paralegal, my advice is put that check in the mail, and if they cash it, they cashed it. That's the contract.
Right.
And if they don't cash it and send it back to you, different story. But people today, and I'm talking to you, that they're too easy. Not you, Ron. They pick up the phone and they pick up the phone and they're too easy picking up the phone and they're getting the wrong advice because they're only getting from ordinary people.
Right. That one person that you speak to may not be the authority. And if you're not getting the answers that you think you should, ask for a supervisor ask for another department. Call back again. Try to get a different person because they're human beings. Some banks, some lenders are going to be more strict than others, but for the most part, from what I understand and my own experience of what I know, they are trying to help people stay in their home and negotiating with them, even if they are behind. As much as they can, they're trying very hard to not have a default because that's very expensive to the bank. Eventually, they do get paid if it's federally insured, but it's a long road that they have to go through before they get to that point where they are actually getting paid whatever their losses are. Because if you default and then it takes 2 years before they actually get possession of the home is deteriorated then. And once it's a true foreclosure and bank owned, the value goes way down. No one thinks that home is worth as much as the one next door that has people living in it and taking care of it. They know it's been empty. And, eventually the bank will sell it. And then if they're still owed money and it's insured, they're going to get the difference. But it takes a long time. So it makes sense that they would try to negotiate up front. And it's a shame if a smaller lender may not want to work with you as easily, or like I said, if
So
you
if you have
get
the wrong person, you're in trouble.
Yeah, I would move on, call again, or try and get a supervisor.
I get so
Because
frustrated.
4 months is not
A lot.
it's not that much, and you could there's many things they can do. I've heard of them refinancing people and putting 4 months or 6 months on the end of the mortgage. I mean, there's possibilities. The fact is, you have to be your own advocate and ask for these things yourself a lot of times.
People don't understand it. Just
Right.
like the modification. You've heard of the modifications, correct?
Right. If you got your primary mortgage before January 1st, 2009, you could ask to be refinanced under HARP.
Under HARP? What's the purpose of that?
It's Home Affordable Refinance Program. That's what HARP stands for. And it's to help homeowners make payments more manageable. You can find more information about HARP at HUD.gov.
HUD.gov?
Right.
And these are the people, let's say, are back 4 months?
Right. They should, as long as they fit the criteria. So there's certain criteria about it.
Okay,
It has
name
to
some
be-
of the conditions.
It has to be before January 1st, 2009.
Okay.
It has to be Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac owned.
Okay. So how would they know? They would know from their mortgage company, correct?
Right, or their mortgage documents. If you refinanced after that, then you don't qualify, but that doesn't mean that the company doesn't have something that they do in-house to help people out.
So we're screwed either way. It sounds like we're screwed either way.
Well,
and
you
there's
have to
certain
be your own
conditions.
advocate.
And yeah, we have
Right.
to be our own advocate. And people aren't advocates today. So all they want to do is stay in their home, pay their mortgage,
Right.
and they don't know what to do.
Right. It's difficult to work if you're working all day, all week. How are you going to make a private, personal phone call about your mortgage and get through these half-hour, 40-minute phone calls trying to do something like this is very, very difficult.
What do you suggest an average person today, if you gave the good advice and said if you lost your job, suppose you lost your job and you still have a mortgage, what would a person do then? Just go on welfare or?
Well, I don't know about qualifying for
Refinance?
programs like that.
But even they couldn't refinance because they don't have a job.
Right.
So they couldn't do that either.
There are some lenders who are doing things to help people. And I don't know exactly the details of those programs, but the best thing you can do for yourself when you are having trouble paying is to call your lender and tell them your circumstances. And if you don't get offered some kind of a help program, it's not going to be what you would like it to be, of course. It's not going to be, okay, you had a $2,000 a month mortgage and now we're going to make it $1,000 a month so that you can afford it. I don't think it's going to be anything like that. There may be something where they might give you a couple months leeway, say 3 months, giving you the opportunity to, say, find another job. I've heard of things like that. Ask for it. Ask, can I have a break for a couple months? I've been laid off and I need time to find another job. It's possible.
They can do it. In your line of business, how often do you see a person in this trouble that you're trying to buy a new home and sell as you're selling and buying? How often do you see this when people are in trouble?
It's usually sellers who are already a couple years into the trouble. And that's unfortunate. You should not wait that long. You should start making phone calls. As soon as you realize you're not going to be able to make a mortgage payment, you should start making phone calls on your own behalf to try and help yourself stay in the house or get things straightened out or move on. Because real estate agents know a lot about what's going on. So you could find out there, well, could you sell your house and at what price and would it pay off all the debt? How much money would you have? Is it feasible that you could go into a rental situation for a few years till you regain financially?
Okay, that's an idea. That's
right,
an idea.
Sure.
So they can sell their home, go into a rental property, and then, but I mean, you're talking about people in their 60s and 70s. Come on.
Well, if it's people in their 60s and 70s and they're not ready to go to assisted living, they could possibly go to small condos. There are 55 plus communities that are less expensive.
It's a scary world we're living in.
It is.
Now, how's your business? I mean, you're a real estate agent. I mean, what's it like? Up and down every day, every month? What's it? I mean, you should be a millionaire by now.
It's gotten busier. You do have to work at it, but it's gotten quite a lot busier. All my listings have had more and more showings since the new year. A lot of showings. Even during the weekdays, there's been showings, which it had died off pretty much in November.
So then you take a dive too. When the real estate dives, you take a dive too.
Right. So then I have to work that much harder to get appointments for listings and promote the properties that I have listed.
Are you allowed
for
to
sale.
go to a house? You see a sign for a year. Are you allowed to knock on that door to say, I can sell your house for you? How long do they have from real estate agent to real estate agent? And are they allowed to do it?
It's considered
You're
unethical.
laughing, so it's got to be unethical somewhere.
It's considered unethical. If that listing expires, there's your window to contact the client.
Well, how would
if
you know
it's
it
not
expires,
expired,
though? How would you know?
look on the
look it up
multiple
on your
listing
multiple
and make
listing,
sure it's expired. If it's not expired, then it's really unethical.
So you're not supposed to do it,
no,
but you're allowed to do it.
I don't think it's well, it's not good manners and it's not good business. And if
Okay.
you would do that to the agent to
Then you're
get
gonna
the
screw
listing,
the person. You're gonna
then
screw
what
the
would
person.
the person think
Yes.
of your integrity?
Yes, okay. That answers that question because then you're showing your character, right?
Right.
But you're allowed to do it. If a real estate agent was hurting big time.
I think it's considered unethical behavior to try and steal a listing.
People don't do that today? Come on.
I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but not too much in the areas that I'm in. I don't see too
Okay.
much of that.
Okay. I was
think
wondering.
most agents are respectful of it. You could send a mailing, but the mailing always has to say on there, if you're working with another agent, please disregard. And it would be up to the person. Once they've signed on with someone, if they haven't asked to be released, because that's what would happen is
Would you still have to pay the agent the money to the first agent?
supposedly, but it would be very difficult to pursue
Okay.
because they've signed a contract with that agent and that agent's company.
Okay.
My listings, it's a contract with me, but it's also a contract with Caldwell Banker Hearthside. They own that listing.
But you aren't selling my house, so I'm going to go to Joe Smo here, and I'm going to sign up with him because you're not fast enough for me. Am I allowed to do that
You would have to have a release.
from your company?
Right.
Now, suppose I didn't want to release. I just say sell it.
Well, there could be trouble.
There could be
There
legal
trouble.
legal trouble
Right.
for them. Okay, so a
Right.
person's in a bind too. Me as the seller, and this guy's saying, "I can promise you, I can sell this house in 2 weeks," and you're saying it's still sitting there.
Right.
So how long does the first real estate agent have as to keep that property? 6 months? Is it 6 weeks?
It depends on the contract. The contract could be for 3 weeks, 3 months, a year. It's between the listing agent and the owner of the property. Whatever the owner of the property decides, it's their property. So if they say, I only want to list for 3 months, you write 3 months on there. And if they say, I want to continue on a monthly basis and I'll let you know, then that's what you do. You continue as they decide. It's your property. You are in control. Yes, if you've signed a contract, you are bound by that contract and you would have to ask for a release in order to get out of it. Most of the time, no one's going to force you to sell the property, because if you didn't want your property sold anymore or wanted to go with someone else and an offer came, you would just say no, which you have the right to. So unless it was a full price offer with no contingencies, that would be, I believe, the only time that you would be obligated to sell. Or, I don't know if they could make you. I guess they could drag you all through court, but that's not really the kind of business I like to be involved with at all. If someone's not happy with my service, I would want to know why, first of all.
All
so
right,
that I
now
can
we're
fix
gonna
it.
we're gonna go there. What is the step? I put my house in your name. What do you do now?
I would right away start to market your home.
How do you
I'd make
do that?
a
How do you do that?
website for your home, get pictures, make your home its own website, order signs. People could text a certain number and all that information would come up on their smartphone. Make brochures, flyers, start pushing the property, well, the multiple listing, and then start pushing it onto all different other websites so that it gets out there, because that's where people go, is online first to shop. The sign, of course, is a big deal because people passing by will see that. That's a big advertisement. Usually there might be a broker open where other agents are invited over to preview the home. And I hold a lot of open houses. I like
I
having
get mail
those.
from you, email from you.
Yeah, you're in there, and I don't even know if I should be sending them, but
I get email from you, and I'm sure you send it to everybody else. It says open house. So this is
Right.
how you do it as well. So I may be interested in something. I'm saying, wow, I like that property, right? That's how you do it.
right, past clients or other real estate agents, and many times real estate agents send their clients to my open houses because, of course, I honor that those people are represented by someone else. I don't try to make them my client. I just welcome them to the home and walk them around. And, their agent's still their agent.
Okay. I always thought, and I could be wrong, and I am wrong listening to you. I always thought when you ride by a house and you see a sign there that's been there for a year, I'm saying, wow, I can get them down real low. Is that how it works, or is not how it works?
It might have been that way before some laws and codes of ethics were put in place. I don't know, but Bucks County Board of Realtors, we have a code of ethics, and I like to stick to it. It's just the best way to be. It's just
I
if it's
said
not
you
the
were
right
an
thing to
exception.
do,
I keep on
don't
saying
do it.
you're an exception to the rule because
Right.
as an insurance agent, and when I did the credit, there was many real estate agents that went overboard and did everything unethical
Right.
just to make that commission.
Right.
And that was sad because people lost homes before even the recession came. They were losing their homes in foreclosure, and then they would be in contact with their mortgage company. They would get an adjustable mortgage, and then the adjustable mortgage would rise up, and then they would lose their home from that way too. So,
Right.
and people aren't educated today in this field. In real estate, credit, mortgages, people are not educated. We want them to be, but they're not. They're putting the values in us.
Right. They don't want to know it's like a burden. They want to be able to trust people. And, you know, a lot has to do with who you go to for help. You can't just go to anyone. Talk to financial advisors, talk to your attorney, call reputable, known companies that have a lot of contacts and a lot of other auxiliary services. Um, and, you know, do your homework. I know people don't want to do their homework and
No, it's
investigate.
easy
They
to
want
pick up the
someone
phone.
who already knows. But because of the bad things that did happen in the past, it's a really unfortunate. But, you know, those agents, how many of those people that if they didn't do the right thing regarding those people, how many of those people are going to refer their friends and family to them?
Do they
And
care?
I don't know, but that's really what being a real estate agent is all about. Is if you give a honest, do honest work for people, then they would appreciate that. Things would go well for them. They'd successfully land in a home that they can afford, and then they would recommend you to other people. You know, it's just unfortunate that some people were led into much more expensive homes. But, you know, we learn from our mistakes, of course, and as we see with how the economy has slumped, and it's been like a long, torturous time for everyone. Now, going forward, it's sort of like we have to mend. Everyone is like mending their financial situation, and going forward, that's what everyone needs to do, and just take as much care as they can on paying their bills on time and trying to keep an eye on what's going on with their credit. Before it wasn't a big deal, and you know, you could get stated income loans. If you couldn't get
Yeah,
it
that's
based on
another
your
thing.
credit, you could just say, "Oh, well, I make this much and please give me a loan." And that's where things can go south.
Why is it that everybody takes the real estate exam, that everybody flunks the first time?
I didn't. I didn't.
Majority
I
of people.
studied.
Why is it? Is it that tough? Everyone that I know that was a real estate agent, they said, I have to go back and take it again. If it's that tough, you know, you took it the first time you passed?
Of course. Oh, I would be very upset. I went to the classes and I paid attention. I already knew a lot before I went into it. I had known a lot for about 10 years. I had been told by many people that's the kind of business I should be in. And I did know a lot before I actually even stepped into the class.
Now, there's not that many real estate agents that's still in the business from years ago as well, you know. I mean, and you have to keep up your license, right? You have to keep up your
Exactly.
license.
It costs money to be a real estate agent. So if you're not actually making deals, you're spending money to stay, have a license hanging somewhere. So
Is it better and is it more profitable for a real estate agent to be in the commercial business?
that I don't know. I haven't done commercial. I wouldn't mind. I'd like to take some classes regarding that. But commercial is a lot of money. A lot of those buildings are very, very expensive. It could be very profitable if you have the right connections. The people who are looking for those big buildings or businesses to buy. I don't really know too much about commercial real estate and how it's going or not going. I'm mostly focused on residential housing.
But you're doing a good living on it, correct?
I'm still here. There's gas in my car. I have a house.
Well,
Yes.
everybody out there, if you're looking and you're still in your home watching this show, their mortgages up to date, and some of them just got educated tonight. First of all, is there anything you want to tell the people out there that you want to get your word across that's so important to the people out there?
Yeah, don't give up. If your dream is to own a home, then just begin today with a phone call to Pearl, or a phone call to me, or to any real estate agent.
What is your give us your website, your phone number, if you want to sell your house, if you want to buy a home. Carol's the person to call. She really is, and you can take it to the bank there, because I respect her. I value her word, and I put everybody through the course, and she knows it. But if somebody wanted to get a hold of you, how would they get a hold of you? Through your website first?
Right. www.cbhearthside.com/Carol Kramer.
And your phone number if they wanted to get a hold of you by phone.
215-530-0524.
So you heard it here tonight. You got all the information. You can tell your friends and relatives. They can go back and watch this over and over again when it comes to your parents, the refinances, the selling. If you have any questions, or people or your neighbors or your family asks you, just tell them. Go back to the YouTube, go back to the Pearl Polto show, and keep on watching it. So this way you'll get your answers, because many see the commercial on television. You don't understand it. I want to thank you, Carol. I want to thank you for being on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, you gave a lot of good information out there, because I even, learned a few things. Next week, Carl Romano. Carl from Florida. If you're out there watching, you're on next week. He's got a lot to tell you. He was one of the agents of the Tony Robbins, as I said. Well, anyway, this one of the speakers. He has a lot to say. He's doing a lot. He's a good friend, but he's a person to know. The following week, guess what? Credit. We're talking about credit. Credit. Me. I'm going to talk about credit. I'm going to talk about the ups and downs of what you're doing right and wrong. And I'm going to be nasty, because I am nasty when it comes to your credit. And then the following week, actually that same week, guess what? A return guest, Josie Brandon, will be back on, sitting in this seat, and we're going to be talking about your life. Believe me, it's something new, breaking news at the same time. So we got a lot of great shows coming up. I want to thank everybody for tuning in tonight. I hope you got the education of a lifetime. This is Pearl Polto, as always, making the most of your credit, giving credit where credit's due. Tonight, it's to you out there. Save your home, and if you can't save it, give me a call, 1-800-876-CREDIT, CRED. I will make sure you do not lose your home. See you next week.